creatures.
Yes.
Is what it seems more like his Jund deck is looking to do, and maybe that's the way the Jund decks should be going in the future. We're going to find out. And as we see Evan Rice here on the left, Brian on the right, looks like both players are ready to go. As we see a Blood Crypt here from Brian. And both players did keep their opening 7 to start here, as we are going to see a turn 1 Champion of the Parish here from Evan.
That is the turn to have it, and one of the most powerful enablers that this archetype has.
Yeah, I think almost every card in this deck is a human, War Falcon not being one, and then Geist of St. Traft and
War
Sublime
Falcon
Archangel.
is a human supporter.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's part of the team.
It's like an honorary human.
It looks like we're going to see a Farseek here from Brian. Going to get his mana all online. Going to get another Blood Crypt here.
So what do you think about the absence of Bonfire of the Damned in the Jund main deck? I mean, last season this card was a no question 3 or 4 of main deck in every deck that could cast it. And here we've seen some of the red decks play fewer copies or play none at all main, even though the format is arguably a little more creature oriented than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised. Most Jund decks have at least 2 copies in their main deck. You find 3 copies in the sideboard of Brian's deck. I'm a little bit surprised to see that here, but as you said, he's a little bit more creature-oriented, and obviously you don't have room for everything.
Yep.
You know, he's found some room for 2 Vraska the Unseens. Maybe he's favoring those over Bonfire of the Damned. He has 4 Dreadbores, where a lot of deck lists have 2. So, I mean, it's clearly worked out for him thus far.
Yep. So a turn 2, Knight of Glory, powering up the champion and getting in for 3 because of the Exalted trigger. And a Desecrator Demon. That is not the Olivia Voldarin, which is just devastating for a blue-white creature deck to play against, but Desecrator Demon still quite good on the 3rd turn. But it looks like we're about to have a curve of detaining effects.
I mean, that looks to be the case, but it doesn't look like he has a 3rd land.
Yeah,
oh, he does. Now that's interesting.
And Geist of St.
Okay,
Traft.
so he's going to play Geist of St. Traft, and then he's going to follow that up with some live Sky Knights.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought he would just play the Sky Knight that turn and, you know, detain the demon, attack for 3/5 damage, but he opted to just attack for 3 with the Knight, and he's going to start detaining next turn.
Yeah, this is a much better clock.
Yep. So you see you see Evan taking a look at Desecration Demon. It's on the screen for you guys there at home. Not a card often seen constructed, but it is a very large threat that can hold down the fort. So we're going to see a Vampire Nighthawk here.
And a Deathrite Shaman, so protection from black really pulling its weight here. But Desecrator Demon does seem very good against the more controlling band style decks in the same way that Thundermaw Hell kind of found a role too. Just a big flyer is where you want to be often.
Yeah, and that deck doesn't really have a ton of threats to be able to sacrifice to actually stop Desecration Demon, so...
Alright, I believe we're about to Sublime Archangel would be my guess here. I guess there's an argument for just detaining the Nighthawk, but we're just going to get our Sublime Archangel online.
Slide through the Pro Black, slide underneath the guys. Double Exalted there for the Knight of Glory, so we're going to have an attack here for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, actually 8. Attack for 8. So we have Cavern of Souls from Evan on humans.
Predictably on humans. And there's an Olivia, yet another black creature.
Yeah. And looking at Brian's deck list, I'm trying to find if there's any removal here that is not black. I mean, Lightning Bolt doesn't exist, of course, but it's Abrupt Decay and Dreadbore and Sever the Bloodline. So,
yep.
Not a ton. Looking to go all the way. It is a lethal attack next turn.
Yeah, we need a Thragtusk, I guess.
Yeah, Thragtusk would be the one.
So before combat, we're going to get rid of our champion of the parish there to tap the Desecrator Demon.
Nighthawk's going to come across for 2. We're going to see 5 mana tapped here. Essentially, looks like either 5 or 6. All of it.
Yeah, we're just going
just
wolf running our Nighthawk here.
Gotcha. So Wolf Run for 3. Nighthawk's going to hit for 5.
Are we just going to kill him on the way back by detaining his Deathrite Shaman?
It looks to be the case, yeah. Looks like he went up to 12, and it's going to be 12 exactly, I believe. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Angel token makes it 12.
Yep, that's...
The Sky Knight should do it. As long as he doesn't miss the mandatory trigger.
He
which
pointed at his Geist, so...
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Sometimes protection from black still good against the black creature deck. Still,
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Same as it was in '94.
Yeah. So we're going to see both players looking to sideboard here, and while they are going to be sideboarding, we, Patrick, are going to give away some trivia. And as they say in the business, nose goes.
I'm not familiar with that term.
No?
In general, or in the business specifically.
Nose goes. That means you have to do the trivia question.
Okay. For those of you watching, this is for 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. You need to hashtag
SCG Premium. Correct.
For a chance to win 3 free months of Premium.
Correct.
And the question is, what 2-drop human creature in Evan Rice's deck proved troubling for the black control deck? Dude, you're going to put me on the spot, and then you're going to just... You gave me no setup time, and then... All right.
Oh, this is rich. This feels great.
This is, you know, the last time we did this event, I had to do like 5 of the 6 of them or whatever, because the ones you came up with were so bad.
That's not true. I don't remember that at all.
What 2-drop white human proved troubling for Brian Bennett's black control deck in the first game of the top 8? Hashtag your answer to SCG Premium for your opportunity to win 3 free months of Premium.
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Either way, if you get the right answer,
It could be, but it is actually just one specific.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
I'm going to give you 3 months of premium. Again, don't forget the hashtag of SCG Premium, excuse me.
So since we're in the habit of deferring and shunting responsibilities off to other people, how about you, Human Master, go over our sideboarding options here?
It would be my pleasure.
Okay.
Taking a look at Evan's deck list here, 3 Elite Inquisitors, relatively good because of creature type. Dodges Olivia Valderin, shooting down the guys there. 2 more Feeling of Resonance sideboard to be able to push through. Vampire Nighthawk, that sort of thing. 3 Nevermores, which is an interesting card to name, or actually to board in, because there are some interesting cards that he can name, including Olivia Valderin, which is a huge problem for humans decks. Alternatively, he could name Thragtusk. Riders of Gavony is again a way to push through, and then Bonds of Faith is an interesting card because it plays 2 roles. 1 to be able to pump Evan's own creatures, but 2 to be able to pacify one of Brian's, and I mean, Thragtusk is a great thing, a great target for Bonds of Faith. So he does have some cards available to him here. There are some cards that are interesting to board out. I don't really know how good Thalia is in this particular matchup. I'm not in love with Precinct Captain. I feel like it gets outclassed pretty quickly. Also, the ones that it makes get outclassed pretty quickly. So those are some things for Evan to consider as he's sideboarding here.
Yeah, Bonds of Faith seems very good because Vampire Nighthawk as well is a nice target for Bonds. On the other side, I believe 3 copies of Bonfire of the Damned seem very natural to bring in, especially after the protection from black beatdown he took in that first game. And then he has 2 more copies of Abrupt Decay, which seem just fine, good rate spot removal. And then he has a Singleton Sever the Bloodline and 3 Murders, which aren't particularly efficient here, but still could be better than some of his clunkier options. Like Desecrator Demon's not great here. I suspect Deathrite Shaman's not at its best either.
Yeah.
So he has some fairly easy cuts, and I assume that he just wants to have a little more spot removal, and then of course the 3 copies of Bonfire of the Damned.
Sure. I would overall agree with that, especially Bonfire coming in. It's very easy for Bonfire to come in here, but also pretty important because Geist of St. Traft is in Evan's deck list as well.
Yeah, this is also pretty convenient, the Bonds of Faith, because often Thragtusk obviously appears alongside Restoration Angel, and so having Bonds is just not a particularly good game plan against Thragtusk in that scenario. But here it just works. It's just fine.
It does everything you want it to do here.
Yeah. Suited up on a pro black guy to get it out of range of Bonfire of the Damned, put on Thragtusk or Vampire Nighthawk. A lot of utility. Yeah.
Pretty nice card in this matchup. For sure, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to go up to 4 copies if Evan had access to a full playset. So that card has the potential to do some serious work.
So we'll see exactly as both players are sideboarding what they're going to tend to do. Evan looking over Brian's deck list right now. This is a matchup that is typically favored for Jund. Just because so much removal, it's hard for the human deck to overcome. Now, obviously, if Evan is able to push him over before the removal can get online, he's going to be able to win, as he did in Game 1. Also, Brian did draw it seemed to be a pretty heavy creature hand.
I mean, he had a good curve, and I think in the absence of Knight, if Knight is just some other 2-drop, I think Brian actually wins that game pretty comfortably.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
He just did not have an answer to Knight and got run out of the gym.
So we'll see what Brian can do to come back. I mean, I still think that he is, if I had to pick a winner from that, I thought Brian was going to win beforehand, just because, again, Evan's deck is all creatures. Jun lines up very well against creature-heavy decks. But Evan does still have the ability to just run someone over, as you said. So we'll see if Brian can actually stop that from happening. And as we pointed out before the match started, a traditional Jun deck has more removal starting than Brian does. And you see that Brian's removal is actually in his sideboard for this tournament. So he's able to just swap out some of those creatures, swap out Vraska the Unseen, which is a 5-mana Vindicate for all intents and purposes. Maybe even swap out Sever the Bloodline, because that's a 4-mana removal spell where he has cheaper ones.
Yeah, I had to assume that a lot of the way that this deck is constructed is as a concession to Bant.
Sure.
Because a lot of that spot removal stuff is just not at its best here. The one spot removal spell he's playing a full playset of is Dreadbore, which, hard to be dead, also covers against, whatever Planeswalkers the Bant deck decides to go to. It's a nice, clean answer. So his deck seems very heavily metagamed to try to fight the Bant decks. And I assume on his road to the top 8, he probably ran in that deck at least once or twice.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that's the case as well.
So what do you think? What do you think of Vraska? I mean, where's the matchups where you think that thing's going to shine?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it seems like it would be okay against Matt, because again, it's another card that can deal with Planeswalkers. So I feel like it's kind of reasonable there. The +1 ability is not one that really strikes me as very good in this particular metagame. But the -3 ability and ticking it up once and then being able to Vindicate again, I feel like that's probably worth a card.
Yeah, it just sort of feels like a kind of generic-ish, grindy card advantage engine more than like something that's filling a specific role. Garrick's in the same space too. It's not for anything. It's just this is a good rate of either stabilizing a board or taking the game over once you've gotten control.
And trying to play one thing that this deck can do, oddly enough, and I'm fairly sure that Vraska just says destroy any permanent.
Non-land.
Is it a non-land permanent? Okay, because I was going to say that maybe it could
farce. They don't make just recurring Stone Rains like they used to.
I wasn't sure if they could farseek up into a turn 4 Vraska, destroy your land.
No Flowstone Flood type action anymore. No,
Flowstone Flood. Tell me more. What is the text on that card?
It's I don't know if it's red 3 or red 2, but it's an Exodus spell that's a Stone Rain with buyback of pay 3 life and discard a card at random. Because that's supposed to check it against doing it too many times, but you actually don't need to buy back a Stone Rain that many times before good gameplay is suffering. So
okay.
That's probably one where development sort of missed the mark in a multitude of ways.
Buy Flowstone Flood. I didn't think we'd get there on today's broadcast, but here we are.
I believe that's the name of the card.
And it feels good to be here.
No, it's not Flowstone because it's in Tempest. It's some other flood. Whatever. It's a recurring Stone Rain from Exodus.
Why is that bad?
Because it's not fun to get Stone Rain once, much less theoretically infinite times.
So we see both players are looking at their 7-card hand. Brian is going to send it back.
Yep.
And Evan looks content.
And mulligans feel like a much bigger deal to the Jun deck than to most decks. A, because so much of the deck is about trading 1 for 1, and secondly, he needs to have a mix of mana and the right colors of mana and spot removal and ramp and then things to close out the game. He sort of needs, all the pieces of the puzzle to come together to win the game, and so the individual cards matter a lot. Whereas, Evan's mulligans he's down a card and that matters, but he's still going to just have his curve of creatures and either 1 or 0 feeling of dreads. Yeah. So it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, his deck is still going to do what it needs to do. It's not a combination deck like Brian's deck is.
Yeah.
Weird to call a Jun deck a combination deck, but it really is. Yeah. Between the mana and the removal and the creatures. It's trying to accomplish a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So Evan shuffling Brian's deck. We'll see if Brian's able to sit a little happier on 6 cards. Just trying to see what kind of opener Evan did keep as well. That's an unhappy look.
That's the look of a man who is not happy with his opening 6. And yeah, and this obviously compounds the problem that we're just talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much more likely now that he's missing one big piece.
I mean, he could be missing one big piece. He could also have the issue of just missing one color of mana now too.
Yeah.
With this mulligan down to 5.
And I mean, that's going to be a big issue for, I think, these 3 and 4 color control decks going forward, and likely to see more of it when Gate Crash comes out, because the dual lands will fill out. You know, you'll have access to all your mana. It's just the mulligans make it more likely that you're going to be mulliganing into unkeepable hands because your mana base is sort of stretched, being predicated on keeping these 7-card hands.
Sure.
And you know, he also has like 2 Keswick Wolf runs and a Stesnia Bloodhall.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just, you know, now these draws become much more disastrous as well. I'm definitely, when I start brewing for Standard, I'm going to be definitely trying to beat down these 16 Ravnica dueling and control decks.
Yeah, I'm
very
right there
excited,
with you.
very
I'm
excited
right
about
there
it.
with you. Maybe trying to be monocolor, potentially a second color.
Yeah.
So we see a Woodland Cemetery for Brian. He's happy enough with his 5-card hand that he's going to keep. Hallowed Fountain starting for Evan, knocking himself down to 18, and we are going to see the War Falcon, Kaka.
Yep. Honorary human. It's a member of the club.
We'll see a Dragon Skull Summit here from Brian as we see War Falcon on the screen. Creature type not human, but he does work well with just about every creature in the deck.
Yeah, historically, human beings have been knights and soldiers, both in Magic and in real life.
As we see a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, come down here.
Yeah, we're a little surprised by the presence of that card in the post-board games because his deck isn't particularly spell-heavy.
Yeah.
And even, especially on the draw. But it's possible Thalia's sort of a free roll because you have no spells in your deck, so it's just, even on the draw, it's probably still fine.
You see Brian misses 3rd land drop predictably on his mulligan to 5. Thalia even stopping a Farseek if that was the card that Brian drew for the turn, as we are going to see a Knight of Glory. Brian able to draw a Rootbound Crag, but that Crag is going to come into play tapped.
As we do not have a Forest or Mountain.
Evan will draw his card. Evan draws a Glacial Fortress, which can come into play untapped because of Hallowed Fountain.
Yeah, he has Sublime Archangel in hand, and Evan's far enough at this point that he can actually probably stomach playing around a Bonfire off the top.
Yeah,
like he can actually not have to worry about that if he wants to.
A Bonfire off the top right now would just be for 1, too, which would actually clear a lot
Yeah,
of stuff
exactly.
out of the way.
That's
Yeah.
He's actually in a position where he can hold off on casting more 1-toughness guys because I assume we're probably just going to go land Sublime Archangel would be my guess.
We'll see Riders of Gavany.
Ah, sure.
Okay. So Riders of Gavany, most of the creatures in play are human. War Falcon does have evasion, so Riders of Gavany is going to name a creature type for Evan to be able to push through. Probably Vampire, but we will see. And he does name Vampire, be able to push through Nighthawk and Olivia Valderin. And here comes the gang. Riders of Gavany having Vigilance, so we're going to see an Abrupt Decay here.
Thalia down, so that frees up some mana.
And for those of you guys that haven't seen Riders of Gavany for a little while, we'll bring that up on the screen for you guys. Interesting card, a card that saw a healthy amount of play in Block Constructed. Should be untapped right now due to it having Vigilance. That is, all those are coming into play.
A hand of Knuckleheads.
Yep. And that is a concession from Brian Bennett on his mulligan to 5.
Yep.
Evan Rice, victorious.
Not much to be done there.
No, just your standard beatdown deck.
Yep. I think that, you know, obviously we can't draw too much of a conclusion from that match because there was a mulligan to 5. But I do feel like Brian's deck is leaning a little bit too heavily on Farseek. There's just so many 4s. You know.